Welcome to One Brooklyn, presented by Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams. On this edition of One Brooklyn, Brooklyn Borough President Adams kicks off the Brooklyn Saves Financial Education Campaign at the Brooklyn Bedford Stuyvesant Economic Solutions Center. The Bedford Stuyvesant Restoration Center was founded in 1967 and is the first and oldest community development organization, partnering with residents and businesses to improve the quality of life in central Brooklyn. One such way is through their Economic Solutions Center, which is a place for comprehensive services including workshop development, personal and family finance, and social support. They also offer dynamic classes, workshops, and one-on-one counseling and more at no cost to the community. One of the ways the Economic Solutions Center is helping their residents is by their new Brooklyn Saves Financial Education campaign. It helps members in the community, adults and youths, individuals and families, build economic self-sufficiency through a holistic and client-facing approach. Borough President Adams kicked off the Brooklyn Saves Financial Education campaign, and the first speaker in the press conference was someone who benefited from this program already.
But yeah, I've been working with Julian Stillman for about a year now, and I can say that before coming to this program, I was definitely in a difficult place financially. It wasn't a joke for me. I didn't have a job, I wasn't paying my rent, and my dad was actually paying my rent for me. And I had gone other places before coming to this program to get some advice and some counsel, and no one could ever address me personally. I would just get broad strokes kind of advice, and people were telling me about 401ks and different programs that were structured for a more corporate approach. I didn't have a corporate background though. I'm an artist. I work for myself. I had ran my own business for 3 years, and my business had stopped self-sustaining itself. And so at that point, I was like, all right, I need to do something different. And I had to seek out employment. But there's that gap when you don't expect unemployment to come and hit you. There's a gap between when you need to find gainful employment and figure out your flow. So I took the time to get myself financially literate. The challenge was no one had ever really told me how to become financially literate. I would ask my dad things and he would just say, figure it out. And that was the toughest nudge for me, because most people will get a credit card when they're say 20, 21 years old and start building credit from there so that they're have a healthy credit report by the time they're in their mid-20s. I did not. I didn't get my first credit card until I started working with Julian. And before that, he really laid out realistic goals for me. Before I didn't realize it, but I had unrealistic goals. Everything that I was trying to do was it didn't have the steps necessary, laid out that were necessary to take to get to that point. So when I met him, he was like, listen, this is what we're gonna do. Show me your budget, show me what you're working with, your bills and so on and so forth, and we're gonna restructure them so that you can meet the goals that you want to do. I'm a car person. I really, really despised taking public transportation in New York City. It was a big thing for me. So I was spending a lot of money on Ubers because I wouldn't take the trains. I would just Uber everywhere I went. So that was racking up quite a bill. I had maxed out my dad's credit card. And so he was like, you got to pay this off. And because, it's affecting his score and so on and so forth. And so, and wherever I went, I couldn't get a credit card. I couldn't figure out why. Why are you guys approving me for a credit card? It's my first card. So I had to dig myself out of that, and Julian laid out the steps. I'm not going to give you guys all the answers, but he laid out everything that I needed to do to get to that point. And then we set a goal for when I could get a car, just based off of what we laid out. So I met that goal, and I was able to purchase my first car. I bought it in September of this past year, 2019. So that was great for me. To have a car is paramount to success for me. I can't I can't say more about it. So after doing that, I was able to lay out realistic goals for me, because when I was unemployed, living in Williamsburg, and basically just living off of what my dad could provide for me, and not being able to project out 3 months down the line what my finances are going to look like, or like 5 months down the line what I'm going to be able to do. That's a difficult place to be in. But now I can really like project out and say like, oh, I want to go to California in a few months for a work trip, which I just did. I just got back. And it was nice to be able to like drive a Corvette Stingray while I was out there, and like be able to like conduct a proper workflow and do things for myself that I want to do. And I can really attribute that to Julian. Really helped me out. Another big thing that helped me out was, I'm big on school, and you know, as an artist, it's good to push forward in the academic areas and not just be a super left-wing artist. So I had accumulated a lot of debt from school, and my school's not the type of school that's super forgiving and like, oh yeah, just come on back, we'll take care of you. So I couldn't go back to school, and I had like all this debt that I was sitting with as well. And when I talked to Julian about like the type of debt that I had and the type of situation that I was in, he was able to address me personally, not just be like, oh, you know, just save more money or do this or do that. He was able to address my situation personally, and he went in and worked his magic and was able to eliminate all of my debt completely. I had like over $40,000 worth of debt, and we got that down to zero. So that was major for me, because now I'm on the road to like going back to school in the fall and finish my next degree. So I say that to say, these type of programs are much needed in our community, and I'm glad to see that Restoration is providing the resources for other people to do it. I can't compliment the program more. It's been great for me. I'm able to save now. I'm able to like move freely. I have financial freedom and some stake in my future, whereas before it was just, I was miserable. And I thank you all for being here today and for your service in the community. And I'd like to now welcome Colvin Granham to the podium, the President of Restoration, to kick off the launch of the campaign.
Well, he did a fantastic job. And Julian, you did a fantastic job. Yeah, that's what we look for. So thank you all for being here, first of all. See a lot of friendly faces here, and very supportive faces. I think that Rukti is a perfect example of the range of people that we are trying to reach through our initiative, both around closing the racial wealth gap and encouraging and being a stake for people saving more and building net worth. Because a lot of people always tend to think that these issues affect only my mother would say, the poorest of the poor. It is not that. It cuts across all educational levels and all income levels. So Rukti, as you stood here, I was inspired by not just your eloquence, but your poise and your clarity. So thank you for your comments. So we are thrilled to be joined by residents, elected officials, and community organizations today as we kick off our campaign to close the racial wealth gap. Special thanks to Borough President Eric Adams and the staff of Council Member Antonio Reynoso, as well as staff from Assembly Member Tremaine Wright and Senator Velmonette Montgomery for being here. We also have with us Deputy Commissioner Nicole Smith from the Department of Consumer Affairs, Office of Economic Opportunity. A quick note about Bed-Stuy Restoration. Many of you know we're the nation's oldest community development corporation. We're founded in 1967 by community residents with the support of then Senators Jacob Javits and Bobby Kennedy. So we're 53 years old. We're founded by the community organizers, and community leaders. We recently, at our 50th anniversary, re-engineered our mission statement to focus on relentlessly pursuing strategies to close gaps in family and community wealth so that all families in Central Brooklyn are healthy and prosperous. We adopted a new strategic direction, which is to close the racial wealth gap, and a new motto, corporate motto, which is dream and do, because we believe that with hard work, all dreams can come true. So that's the overall corporate setting for us. Right now, the racial wealth gap is stark and growing. Recent data shows that the average median net worth of an African American family, or the net worth of the median African American family, is approximately $7,000 compared to $110,000 for the median white family. And a similar disparity exists between Latino families and white families. We have decided to focus on net worth because net worth is the best measure of family well-being, not income, but net worth. And even modest amounts of net worth are highly correlated with the significant areas of well-being. So when we're talking about educational attainment, we're talking about employment stability, housing stability, health, and mental health, right? So, I mean, we all would think that the more money you have, the more your well-being, the greater the likelihood of your well-being. But our point is that even modest amounts of net worth or savings can really help families protect themselves from falling into poverty. So it can be a base that protects families from falling into poverty, as well as a platform for launching upward mobility, right? So even modest amounts of savings. So think about it for a moment, and a modest amount of savings can help you if you have to go to the hospital for an emergency. It can help you get that boot off your car, right? If you have one on your car, and I see lots of boots around here. It can help you deal with a crisis so you can continue paying your rent. Or it can help you just have peace of mind generally, knowing that if a modest crisis comes up that's $400 or $500, it's not going to derail your whole lifestyle. I said that it was stark and growing, the racial wealth gap. Well, right now, 30%, approximately 30% of African American families have zero or negative net worth. And that number is projected to grow over the next 50 years. And over the next 50 years, it's projected that the median African American family will have zero or negative net wealth, approximately 50%. And similarly, that number will be about 50% for Latinos in about 60 years. So we have to do something about it. And it requires both systemic change. That means policy change, because we know that there are lots of structural things that undermine the ability of people of color to build assets and to earn income. But it also involves us actively teaching and supporting families in doing what they can to increase their assets and savings. And so that's why we're here today. We're here to launch a borough-wide initiative that is intended to help people build a savings habit. And one of the things I want to say, very important, two things. This applies across all incomes, right? So there are people who make $100,000 a year and they don't have 2 months worth of living expenses in the bank, right? So that means that when an emergency comes, boom. They either have to go borrow at a high interest rate, or they might have severe disruption in their lives. And African Americans have the greatest rate of people falling out of the middle class back into poverty. Why? Because they don't have a strong platform under them. The second thing is that even low-income people can save, right? The data shows that when you focus low-income people on the importance of saving, and I like to think about savings and net worth in particular, as a measure of how long you can live without new income. Let's just say your income stopped today. What's going to happen to you? So if you think about it that way, it heightens in importance. So what are we doing? Two things. We're focusing today on a borough-wide initiative to help people build that savings habit. And it's a matched savings account, and it'll be explained to you. It's called Brooklyn Saves, and people should go to, or people who want to participate, we encourage everyone to participate, to go to www.savealife.com/Brooklyn Saves, where if you link your account to Brooklyn Saves, you can be matched $60 if you save $20 a month for 6 months. Now, people say, well, that's a very modest amount. But what this is about is building the savings habit. And it has proved successful because the 93 people, we've had 130 people sign up so far, 93 people get actively involved, and they have saved an average of $774, right? So they're above that $400, and they're moving in the right direction. Once you build a savings habit, you don't want to break it, right? And so you will make sacrifices other places so you don't. You know, I know my mom used to look at her bank account every single day. She wanted to see that she wanted to see it go from, she wanted to see that 5 cents of interest, you know? That meant something to her. It means something to me too. So, enough said about that. We'll get into this a little bit more as the morning progresses, but I do want to bring to the podium now one of my heroes, the Borough President of Brooklyn, Eric Adams, who I am a believer in. I don't think he gets enough credit for the robust, thriving economy that we have in Brooklyn, probably one of the strongest economies anywhere, which shows that he understands the importance of business. He understands the importance of safety. We talk, and I know he has a heart for the people of New York City, and I know that he understands and does his best every single day to improve the well-being of the people of Brooklyn, whether it's health, mental health, or economic. So, Borough President Adams.
Thank you, Colvin, and mutual admiration. It's amazing, and we are so fortunate to have a financial intellectual giant here in Bed-Stuy Restoration Plaza as we start the opportunity of not only restoring the brick and mortar, but restoring the building blocks of what it is to have a great community in so many spaces. If it's sharing our ideas around the birth of riding bikes for health, if it's financial literacy, if it's about food, all of these areas and items, we have been a partner with Bed-Stuy Restoration Plaza and his entire team. And it's good to see Nicole here. Our team, we have been doing so many things together, and this is the first time we've met. It just goes to show you that we are in spaces without realizing that, you know, you have partners that you don't have to see, but you can feel their results. You're doing an amazing job in this space, and we want to continue to do so at the same time. Robert Carnegie, our councilman, Butler, our district manager, our entire team that's here. Let me say this. That was a powerful story. That was a real story. That was a powerful story. I was trying to find my accountant for about a month because I got a letter from the IRS, and I needed him to answer what the heck was going on. And finally, he called me back, and he said, Eric, I'm in a shelter. You know, I had a financial issue, and it caught me by surprise, and I lost my home, I lost my business, and now I'm moving around from shelter to shelter. And we sometimes believe that it is the other guy. It's not me. You know, I have a home, I have a house, so I'm able to really sustain myself during difficult times. But it comes in multiple levels. And all of a sudden, you can find the normality of your life just take a turn that can really destroy you. And what Colvin was stating, this is a crisis. This is a real crisis. And I encourage all of you to look at Oxford University's study. Oxford University is stating because of artificial intelligence and computer learning, 47% of the jobs we have now are no longer going to exist. It doesn't mean there won't be new jobs, but the jobs that we thought existed are no longer going to be. 47%. And people think that it's just factory jobs. and it's just autonomous vehicles. No. There's a new insurance company called Lemonade Insurance. They don't use stock insurance brokers anymore. They use artificial intelligence to determine what insurance contracts they're going to write, to look at fraud and make determinations. So you're going to see a total shift in employment. And with that shift in employment, we have to start being prepared for that shift. And at the same time, we have to learn how to use our money better. And using our money better, I know it's hard to believe, but when you use a credit card, it doesn't go into financial heaven, and the bill doesn't go away. That is why every college campus you see, there are credit card companies lined up. Our young people are leaving school not only with loan debt, but they're leaving school with credit card debt. And some of the interest rate of 18 and 19%, and they believe paying minimum amounts, eventually they'll catch up. No, it is a setup for you not to ever catch up. That's what it's about. It is legalized loan sharking. And so we're moving to have probably the most important thing could happen to an individual in a family. Every school, as we're pushing in the state to have a law included in the educational curriculum, every young person should know financial literacy. They should know what it is. If you have a savings account, you are 6 times more likely to attend college with a savings account, equally more likely to own stocks. I just invested in a program at Medgar Evers College where we have a program with Dr. Rudy Crew where we are going to have a whole center around financial literacy and how the stock market operates, where your money goes, how to invest, to really give this real education around finance. It's not done. And so we set you up. We set you up. When we did not build in institutions to tell you how your financial actions will impact the quality of your life, and then we say to you, why are you taking that Uber? Why do you have high credit card debt? Why do you have a poor FICO score? Why are you not able to pay for a home? Because we never told you what you were supposed to do. We expected you to get it through osmosis instead of sitting down and you get it through a classroom. It is our fault that you're in the state that you're in. So you have an obligation, and the rest of the young people, you have an obligation to break the chains that connected us into the lack of ability to have real wealth. Real wealth. That is what it's about. Bought my first co-op, saved, was able to buy my first brownstone, rented it out. I was able to pay cash to my son's $250,000 American University College degree because I took those small steps, because a woman with a 5th grade education didn't know much, but gave me the basic understanding. Save, young man, save, young man. And because my mother had that concept and that thought, I was able to see my next generation move forward. But I'm not going to give him my house if he can't save. Because saving is an indication of your discipline of saying, I'm going to think long term and not in an instant way. And every day he shows me how, Dad, I am capable of holding on to this legacy so he can turn it over to his grandson, to my grandson, and he can continue to build the wealth. That is what this is about. This is an amazing program, Colvin. This is really true vision. We are in a state of crisis, and if we don't turn this around, we're going to build a permanent underclass in this city, and that can't happen. We're going to get it right in Brooklyn. It cascades throughout New York City, and the way goes Brooklyn goes New York, the way goes New York goes to America, and the way goes America goes the globe. So let's start saving $1 at a time, one nickel at a time, one moment at a time, so we can start building institutional wealth. Thank you again for this great program.
Attention, not just on the individual level, but we said we're going to advocate, and we are advocating for policies that support the building of wealth as opposed to undermining it, right? So we'll be working on that. I want to recognize Tahira Moore, who's special advisor to the mayor. We've seen Tahira's ascent in government. I remember when she worked, didn't she work for you, Borough? Not Borough President, you might be Borough President, but you never. We can only have one at a time, right? We're fortunate to have two Borough Presidents here today.
She worked for me.
She worked for you. You trained her upright, as they say.
Absolutely.
And she's working for the mayor. We're fortunate to have the tallest elected official in the history of the world.
That's true.
As recorded in the Guinness Book of World Records. Robert Cornegie is here. Councilman Cornegie and I have spent many hours talking about the importance of these issues, business development, home ownership, and economic empowerment of people of color. So we are very pleased to have him come and provide some remarks.
So I'm still sweating because I'm coming directly from the gym. So in addition to financial literacy and financial fitness, I'm trying to get some physical fitness too. I did want to say though, I am in love with this program. More importantly, I'm in love with Restoration's ability to dig their heels in around a crisis. So we are in a residential crisis when we think about gentrification. And it takes a very skilled person to realize that that's only one part of the equation. And to dedicate their resources to financial empowerment and financial literacy is a break away from the mundane way that people are thinking about these issues in the long term. So I have the distinct pleasure of fighting for affordable housing, but equally fighting for pathways to home ownership simultaneously. And they're not mutually exclusive. That is a fight that we have to continue to fight. So there's a trick out there that says that our communities only want to be involved in deep affordability. And that's not how we were raised. That's not what this community was about. It was about pathways to home ownership. It was about building and transferring wealth. And we need to continue to stay focused on that. And I am committed to working with Restoration because they've committed to doing that. Now, our borough president mentioned the onset of technology and what it's doing to communities and jobs. I have also the distinct pleasure of a big ear boy off Green Avenue teaching at MIT. And I'm in there with students who are pushing the envelope as far as technology is concerned every single day. A lot of them don't look like our students, unfortunately. A lot of the technology is happening to us and not for us. And we have to stay committed and work with organizations that have committed themselves and, for me, make sure the dollars are available so that a Restoration Plaza and a Restoration Corporation can continue to operate. So Colvin is right when he says we have professional conversations about this, but we have a lot more personal conversations about this after hours, about what we're doing as elected officials, as organizations, as the oldest CDC in the world. What commitment are you going to have? And it would be easy to just commit to affordable housing. That would be the easy pathway. But committing to make sure that every individual in this community and every individual of color has opportunity through access to capital and access to wealth growth and management is a really, really important commitment. So when you hear things out there about how Restoration is operating, don't believe the hype. Stay settled in the idea that we have to undergird ourselves with financial literacy, with the ability to save. I met with a developer recently who said to me, yeah, Rob, we'll do 60-40 on affordable units. He said, we don't have trouble with the affordability. We have trouble with people meeting the requirement in it. So we can't get enough folks, even when we do what you say. And we follow your prescription for what your community is because people aren't financially literate enough to have the correct FICO score, to have the amount of savings. And some of that is just basic rudimentary stuff that people are not aware of. So I want to thank again this program and Restoration for committing to making sure that this community and communities like us are prepared as the world is changing. Thank you.
I'm delighted that you mentioned FICO scores because the initial part of our Close the Racial Wealth Gap initiative relates to two things. One is the emergency savings, and the second is improving FICO scores. We want everyone to have strong FICO scores. So just think about it. If you don't have $400 or $500 or $600 on hand to meet an emergency, what are you going to do? You're going to borrow. And if you have a poor FICO score, either you can't borrow or you're going to borrow at very high interest rates. So you're going to get yourself, you're going to move from one trap to another trap, right? And so part of it is if you have to borrow at the lowest interest rate that you possibly can. And the only way you can do that is by having a strong credit score. So we're very much focused on that. And thank you for your partnership. I don't know what people are saying about how we're operating, but we're operating good. No, I'm joking. I know you didn't mean it in any particular way. I would like to acknowledge some groups that are here who are collaborating with us on this initiative. Divas for Social Justice, Children of Promise, Brooklyn Pride Center, Center for Court Innovation, and Empower. Several of the organizations, including several of the organizations, have agreed to provide modest matching dollars. So if their employees save, they will match that amount. We're doing that here at Restoration as well. We are just about done. And what I would like to do is thank everyone for coming out, for listening and supporting, and we hope that as you depart, you will spread the message of the importance of understanding net worth, understanding the importance of saving, right? Like I said, it is the measure of how long you can exist without income. And some of us will run into periods where there's no income. It might be temporary, but where are you going to go? And the other thing I just want to make sure you understand, and you can research it yourself, that net worth, even the modest amounts, are highly correlated to all the key measures of well-being. You heard the borough president talk about savings, right? He's not talking about a lot of savings. $500 worth of savings increases the likelihood that a child will go to college and graduate. It's not the $500. It's the recognition that people are investing in me and have an expectation for me. Housing stability, right? Modest amounts of net worth can protect your housing stability because you are not likely to miss a rent payment if you have an interruption of in your income. Or employment stability, right? Savings can ensure that you go to work if somebody throws a brick through your window, your windshield, or some other modest mishap. So what we want everybody to understand is like $500, $600, $700 makes a huge difference in your life, and so you should focus on that, and that this is for everybody. So we are having we have a table here for some of the services that we offer. So those of you, we encourage everyone to check that out. The census folks are here, Janet, Handel, and others. And with that, wait, am I supposed to do something else?
Sign the pledge.
Oh, we have a pledge. Okay, so we have an action item for you. Our community can move forward by achieving financial stability and upward mobility that allows us to save and build assets. Restoration's Brooklyn Saves program is dedicated to helping all Brooklynites build an emergency savings fund of at least $400. Through free financial counseling and our $60 Save a Life free match, when you save $20 a month for 6 months, we can help you get on the route to successful saving at savealife.org, blah, blah, blah. So